You know that feeling, right? You're starting a new serverless project, you open up your editor, and you're just staring at a blank screen. It can be super intimidating. But what if I told you there's a way to skip that step entirely? Today, we're diving into the rich library of AWS Lambda sample applications. These are basically ready-to-go launchpads designed to get you building faster and smarter from day one.
All right, let's kick things off with a question. And honestly, it's something every single one of us has felt, whether you've been coding for a decade or just started last week. When you're tackling something new, what is the single hardest part?
Yep, the blank page. That blinking cursor, just staring back at you from an empty file. It's supposed to represent pure potential, but a lot of the time it just feels overwhelming. It's that first big hurdle in any new project, and it can really stop you in your tracks.
But here's the really good news. When it comes to AWS Lambda, you don't have to start from zero. You can launch your idea from a real, working, totally deployable example. That's the incredible power of these sample apps, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with your Lambda Launchpad, then get into mastering the core essentials. After that, we'll see how to connect with other AWS services, power things up with frameworks, and wrap it all up by asking, what will you build?
All right, let's jump into our first section, your Lambda Launchpad. So let's kick right to it. What exactly are these sample applications, and why are they about to become your new best friend?
Think of them less like code snippets and more like a complete starter kit. We're talking about whole working projects. They've got the code, the deployment scripts, the whole shebang. Whether you're a Python, Java, or Node.js dev, there's something for you. And the best part? You can literally deploy one with a single command, see it run in the cloud, and then just start tweaking it to fit your own idea. It's a massive shortcut.
Next up, Section 2, Mastering the Core Essentials. You know, you gotta walk before you can run. And these foundational blank projects, they're the absolute perfect place to build that very first function and kick off your serverless journey.
Now, this is what I find so cool. It doesn't matter what language you prefer. Python, Node, C#, Go, you name it. You get the exact same solid starting point. Each of these so-called blank projects comes pre-configured with industry best practices. We're talking logging, unit tests, even X-ray tracing for observability, all set up for you. Think about how many hours of boilerplate setup that saves you right off the bat.
And it's not just the bare basics. There are dedicated samples that teach you really crucial real-world patterns. For example, how do you manage shared code and dependencies across functions? Well, there's a sample for using Lambda layers. Or what if you need to handle a totally custom event that you've created? Yep, there's a sample for that too. It's all about building those essential skills.
Okay, so this is where Lambda really shines. You see, Lambda's true superpower is acting like the glue of the cloud. It's the connective tissue that ties all the other amazing AWS services together. Let's look at a few practical examples of this in action.
So let's say you need to build a public web API. This is probably one of the most common serverless use cases out there, right? Building something scalable and cheap without ever thinking about servers. But the big question is always, okay, how do I actually connect my function to a public URL that people can actually use?
Well, guess what? The sample applications have you covered. You just grab the Node.js APG sample. It gives you a function that's already wired up to an API gateway endpoint. It knows exactly how to handle the incoming request and spit back a proper HTTP response. You don't have to figure any of that out. It just works.
Okay, here's another classic pattern. Picture this. A user uploads an image to your S3 bucket. You want to automatically create a thumbnail of that image right then and there. How do you kick off that process? How do you trigger that code to run?
This is just a perfect illustration of the event-driven nature of Lambda. The S3 Java sample shows you exactly how to set it up. The moment a new image file lands in that S3 bucket, an event fires off and boom, your Lambda function automatically runs, does its image processing magic, and saves the thumbnail. So simple, but so incredibly powerful.
And speaking of events, if you're working with Java, you have to check out the Java Events repository. It is an absolute goldmine, seriously. It's packed with boiler code for handling events from pretty much any service you can think of. API Gateway, SQS, Kinesis. It saves you so much time because you don't have to go digging through the docs to figure out what the event payload looks like for each one.
All right, let's level up. Section 4, Powering Up with Frameworks. Because let's be clear,
Serverless isn't just for little one-off scripts. It's for building huge, complex, enterprise-grade applications. So how do you bring the powerful frameworks you already know and love into the Lambda ecosystem?
This is the key takeaway. You absolutely do not have to abandon the tools you're already an expert in. If you're a Java developer, there are official samples to get you up and running with giants like Spring, Micronaut, and Quarkus. This lets you leverage all their powerful features in a serverless environment. And what's really cool is that these framework samples also show you different deployment strategies. You've got options. On one hand, you can stick with the simple managed Java runtime and even flick a switch to enable Snap Start, which is a game changer for speeding up startup times. Or, if you need absolute peak performance, you can go the GraalVM native image route, compiling your app into a lightning-fast executable for near-instant cold starts.
Okay, so we've got on quite a journey here, haven't we? From a basic hello world function all the way up to a high-performance, framework-based application. Now the focus shifts over to you. Just think about it. There are over 30 distinct sample applications available across multiple languages in the official AWS GitHub repository. That means there's a battle-tested, ready-to-deploy starting point for almost any project you can possibly imagine.
Look, if you take away just one thing from this explainer, let it be this: don't start from scratch. The next time you have an idea for a serverless app, start with a sample. They are designed to accelerate your development, teach you best practices, and get you to a working solution faster than ever before.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. The barrier to entry has never been lower. You have the tools, the examples, and the patterns right there at your fingertips. The only question left is, with a launchpad for pretty much any idea, what will you build first?